We came from roaches on the floor, a notice on the door, baking soda in the jar, but now we focus on the law. It's like soap up in a cloth, the way it's soaking and it wash. It's something like good dope, cause it's potent and it's raw.
I used to post up by the store, work stash behind the door.
Because all these events.
Have you guys studied a lot of the Bible? A lot of books in the Bible have different translations at different times.
Translations is nothing.
No, wait, I'm not finished. Different versions, different transcripts over different periods, and they see that it changes over time.
Like what?
Like I couldn't tell you a specific book that I've
Right.
listened, but
When you just said translations.
No, I
But
said
what about the
translations,
manuscripts?
I'm at manuscripts. There you go. And you look at them, for example, if you're talking about the New Testament, there's versions that just simply don't have endings, and then later they add endings. And I'm not saying the endings are problematic. I'm just saying the concept of saying it's simply the way it is and it has one meaning, I think is a little bit of a simplification.
Right, but here's the thing. Who?
That's not even the topic.
Yeah.
But
You just changed the topic.
No, but he's talking, because he's saying the Bible has a factual, what, and it's like, wait, when you say the Bible, which transcript are you talking about? Which period of time? If you look at with this ending versus that ending,
We're talking about prophecy, sir.
Yeah.
We're talking about prophecy.
And you're getting the prophecies from the written text, aren't you? Or you're getting from
The Old Testament.
right, the Old Testament.
You said the New Testament.
Yeah, I know,
though.
because that's the one I happen to have memorized.
Okay, I mean, and that's why I said you changed the topic,
Yeah. Oh, no, I just changed the example.
which is the wrong example. We're not talking about
Right,
that.
Because when I talked about Ezekiel 38, and if you know the Bible, that's literally in the Old
But
Testament.
if I were to show you, for example, transcript of Ezekiel that changed over time,
you can't.
then would that sort of change?
Show us.
Show us that.
Show
You
us.
know,
Translate-
I just-
no, I'm saying if I
Yeah,
If you could, that would change it. But here's the thing,
You
right?
guys are here often, right? So
Of course.
there's no hurry.
Here's the thing, right? I was just reading this book. You can look this up. It's called Zealots of Masada, where they found scrolls that the Zealots buried in Masada around 70 AD that has the whole book of Ezekiel that is the same exact one as it is today.
Some of them are pretty tight because some of them were
It says identical. Identical. Right? So it literally says it's identical.
Well, it says it's identical, but if you talk to some of the Bible scholars in Berkeley, you'll see that words change over time, right? That they're not identical. But maybe still it doesn't change your belief because it's close enough, right? Maybe it's close enough and like, okay, so this said the and this said
I mean,
well, some of them aren't so significant.
You're just talking, sir. I'm just to be
When you're
frank.
saying
You're
words
just talking
change
right
over
now.
time, like,
No, I mean the wording of the same text.
okay, but regardless, you can drop the pencil.
Oh, thank you.
When you say words change over time, we understand that language changes. We understand the definitions of the word
Oh, that too,
change.
that too.
But etymology never changes. The origins of the words never changes. The ancient definitions of words never changes. So when you go into the ancient languages such as Hebrew or Aramaic,
Right.
you got to know those
So,
languages.
exactly. So if you're going to talk about this book being the truth, you want to read them in the original language, right?
Yes, we got tools for that too.
right.
We got lexicons nowadays.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course.
And you have people who are experts who spend their time and write about it, right? Because if I don't speak Hebrew, or if I don't speak Aramaic, or if I don't speak Greek, or whatever the text is, right? I can spend my entire life looking at it, which I recommend you guys do since it's such an important part of your life. But what I do is I find trustworthy sources that do spend their time doing it, and I listen to their lectures and I hear the differences.
But here's the thing. Don't those people have a doctrine they already believed before that?
And that's the
some
thing.
did and some changed once they study the languages and the texts, and you see how they change over time.
So which
Well,
ones
Bart
which
Ehrman-
ones are you gonna lean on? The ones that
Ehrman,
Yeah, as an example.
the former Christian that turned atheist,
Exactly. That's an example.
he warped his own mind. That's what happened.
Well, he
He
learned
did so
that
much studying and bugged himself out. That's what happened. Right or wrong?
I don't think he bugged himself out.
He,
I think,
so how can he was a Christian and turn atheist after more studying?
Because he had a very strong belief in the texts, and he thought they were infallible.
And that's his problem.
And then he learned Greek, and then he read all of the all of the manuscripts, and he saw how they changed over time, how the books were put together, and he came to different conclusions.
Well,
than when he was,
that's his problem. First of all, Greek is a horrible language.
no, because the books he was specifically interested in were written in Greek.
Oh, the New Testament.
Yeah, in his case. Yeah, because you asked me a scholar that I happen to be familiar with. I mentioned him. And,
Bart Ehrman's a scholar?
Yeah. And that's
In what?
In his biblical story.
Not the language.
And in the language, yeah.
He's a Greek scholar.
Yeah, I mean, he's
I'll have to research that.
yeah,
I'll have to research
he's an
that.
interesting guy because
But-
he has
but-
no skin in the game. He doesn't tell people.
Well, I mean, he has skin in the game because he's a prominent name. We know who that guy is. Of course, we've read about him. We've heard about what he believes, and we know his story. So, of course, his job is to put out these statements and things that he's come up with in his own brain, mind you, to steer people away or ask certain questions.
He belongs to a community that when they put out articles, they have to be, peer reviewed.
Peer reviewed,
He
yeah.
has to deal with the criticism, and he works with a lot of people that are believing Christians.
Uh-huh.
No problems with that, right? He's cool. He's not an anti-Christian.
Of course he is.
He said he doesn't believe, and he says he's
So
not
what
a
is he
theo-
putting out his work to
he's
do?
not a theologian. He doesn't speak about. He writes what he's.
He's a scholar but not a theologian.
Correct.
How does that work?
Because he's a historian, and he talks about the manuscripts and the translations.
What's a theologian?
Is somebody who studies the Word of God and the meanings of the sort of religious aspects of the messages as people interpret them. I guess.
So that's different than a scholar and somebody that studies the language. Because that encompasses everything.
One you go to seminary school for, and the other, which he started out with, and the other you study.
And that's where his problem started. That's where his problem started, seminary school.
Yeah, maybe so.
Learning from people that don't know a damn thing about the Bible.
That may
Give
be-
me Amos,
I mean, I think
3
he
and
spent
7.
most of his time just saying, if the Bible's the most important book to me, I'm going to read all the original languages that they were written.
I concur. I believe that 100%. But if you have zero understanding to begin with, and don't know how to compartmentalize certain things and aspects of what happened to the manuscripts over time, because none of them are original, mind you,
Right.
and we understand that.
Yeah,
So of
that's
course,
one of his thesis is that we don't have any original.
and that's not a problem. But you know what?
Well, it's not
How
a problem
you?
for you, but it's a problem for some people.
It's not a problem for me at all, because I know what happened with the text.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you said something about he mentioned Ezekiel earlier, and you said if I can show you a word difference over time, I mean,
And I'm not claiming that Ezekiel is one of them.
I'm not saying that. You said in general, though. But here's the thing: we know for a fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic texts were found 1,000 years apart, and they're over 95% accurate, the same. How does that work?
Because they didn't change as much. Yeah. I didn't say everything changed. I said,
And that's what he said. Bart Ehrman studied the Greek, and that's what led him away.
so I'm not giving. I gave an example. You just asked me. So I wasn't talking about Bart Ehrman as an example of Ezekiel. I was just giving an example.
Yeah, no, you're referencing the Bible overall
No,
as an authority.
No, just a specific portion of the Bible. He became an expert on those books, and he changed his mind once he learned.
Well, I would definitely refute that. He's not an expert at all. Because, like I said, you can't. First of all, you have to understand the history of the Jews and the Israelites at that time. They were conquered by the Greeks. They were forced to speak Greek, and they were forced to translate their writings into Greek, which is
the Romans at the time.
no, the Greeks.
No, it was written by the Greek. It was written by Greek. It was written in Greek later, but the.
What do you mean?
In the time of Jesus, if you study the Gospels, he's talking about the Roman.
We understand that.
They were in captivity to the Romans. We're saying the manuscripts were forced to be translated into Greek.
Oh, yeah.
The Romans didn't speak
They also
Greek.
used the Pentateuch.
Pentateuch?
Which is-
No, that's later.
Yeah, the Pentateuch.
No. It's not later. That's
The
five books.
Pentateuch is the first 5 books of
I
the
thought you meant the
Greek
Peshitta. I thought you said
Yeah, that's
Peshitta.
what- yeah.
of the Greek Septuagint, and that's the thing. He's going into about the forced translations
they had to
of the Greek
translate.
text. And guess what? The Jews mourned for a whole month because at the tip of the sword they were forced to translate this.
Right, which they didn't want.
Right, and that's landing back on what he said. The
Just like
Greek
if you-
language is a horrible language to translate a Hebraic mind.
And anytime
You
you,
know what I mean?
translate it to any other language, right, yeah, it's problematic because then you're.
Yeah, it's the Greek is it's horrible, man. And then this is where we get the Koine Greek from, right? Which is the closest Greek that we can get to maybe because it's different Greek dialects. And once you get to the New Testament and the Greek Septuagint, this is Koine Greek, which is pretty much closer to the Hebraic Grammarly. You know what I mean?
Have you studied those languages?
Yeah, we go into the lexicons. We're not out here saying the King James is infallible or
Oh,
the
and by the way,
NIV.
I'm not disagreeing with what you believe in because I don't even know. I just asked the question about because whenever I hear people talk about the Bible, I just I'm just very curious about their understanding of the different manuscripts, the different translations, and how it affects people's belief. That's my.
We
particular
understand.
interest.
We know what manuscripts are, and that's the thing. Those manuscripts are pretty much the measuring stick, not these translations. Because when you first came up, you said translations, not manuscripts.
Yeah, by mistake. I said there's multiple translations. There are multiple translations, but that's not what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Would you want it?
8 days of Tibet. We'll be more about the Greek. Huh? Yeah, give me that first.
Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord
You
would.
study the Bible?
Uh,
Are you a Christian or no?
I studied. I mean, I read the Bible. I was raised Jewish, but I read the Bible when I was
Interesting.
younger. But
Are you Jewish?
I'm not religious. Is that what you mean?
I mean, whatever you want to represent.
I think like I identify somewhat like culturally, I guess.
Culturally? You were raised as a Jewish person?
I think in my younger years, because it was important to my grandma,
Uh-huh.
my father sent us to, a religious school. Not a yeshiva. I'm like a super liberal, religious weekend.
Ethnically, though.
Pardon?
You're ethnically Jewish?
I guess, yeah. I don't know if it's really an ethnicity. It's just an identity that's a big part of me. Because that's how I was raised.
You were raised... Okay, so you were raised under that ideology of you being Jewish and following the Torah of some sort?
Just knowing about it. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't...
Have you taken a DNA test?
Didn't keep code. Yeah. My dad did, and he's, I guess not that it matters that much biologically, he's like, almost 100% Ashkenazi. So.
From what country?
From different parts of Europe. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You
Well,
had bar mitzvah?
I did have a bar mitzvah. So.
Hey, you were Jewish.
yeah, you're Jewish, man. You got anointed,
Did you have a bepem mitzvah?
Did I have a what?
Did you have a bepem mitzvah?
What's that now?
Yeah, mitzvah bepem.
What is that?
Oh, you don't know about
I'm
that?
not sure. Maybe I'm not understanding the pronunciation.
Okay, look,
What is it? If you describe it, maybe
oral circumcision
Oh.
from rabbis.
Oh, no, I did not.
You know what I'm talking about?
I've heard something about it. There's not something I learned about. Like, we didn't study the Talmud, 'cause I'm telling you, it was a religious, it was a very liberal kind of back. So it's like we studied the Torah, the Haftorah portion.
The Haftorah and the Torah
Rituals.
portions. Okay, that's all Tanakh.
Yeah,
But once you start going into Talmud, Gemara, and all that, where those teachings come from? Where those teachings come from?
who knows? People's interpretations over the years. I'm not, not
Exactly.
a fan. I haven't studied. That's not part of my experience.
Yeah. So what you want? I got Amos.
Amos 3.
Amos 3 and 7.
I'm going to read you something.
Surely the Most High would do nothing, but He revealeth His secret unto His servants, the prophets.
That's what happens. So, of course, Bart Urban, he doesn't know anything about the Bible. He's not an Israelite. Now, it's not a problem with studying it and learning about it, things like that, but there's no connection to it for him. You know what I mean? Because you say you don't keep Torah right now, right? You're not religious?
No.
Are you like, do you proclaim yourself to be Jewish right now, or are you just a European?
People ask me like what I am. I'm like, I'm Jewish. I'm Swiss.
Okay. You have a Jewish last
Born and raised
name?
in America, it's part of my identity.
You ever been to Israel?
Caucasian, I think that's a thing here, right?
Yeah, of course.
Those are all parts of my identity.
You never been to Israel or anything like that?
I did. I lived there for a short bit.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
No, I wouldn't call it Aliyah. I went there and worked on a kibbutz to see what it's like. It's very eye-opening.
Oh, wow.
Not expected.
Interesting. All right. Let me read you this, though. Go ahead.
It says, this is from JewSchool.com. It says, morning the 8th of Tevet, the day the Torah was translated into Greek. Right? It says, we just finished the 8th of Tevet, a day which, though insignificant on today's Jewish calendar, was marked by the sages as a fast day because on the 8th of Tevet, the Torah was written in Greek in the days of Ptolemy the king, and darkness came to the world for 3 days. Right? It says, this is strange. Why should we be upset that the Torah was translated into the language of the largest, most powerful empire in the world, a leading language of literature, philosophy, and ideas, the language of the state governing the Jewish people at the time? How could the Jewish people reasonably fulfill Isaiah's charge to be a light to the nations? Right? Why does this apparent success of contributing light to the world cause darkness to envelop the world for 3 days?
Wait a minute. Hold on. This is somebody's interpretation. Let me go back.
So that's Jewish thought right there.
Yeah, that's not.
They're mourning that it was translated in Greek, right?
Yeah, but the point is that historically, the Jews mourned, right? They mourned because it was Greek is pretty much a horrible.
Well, I think any language at the time, any language that translated into would have been a problem for them, right?
Not every language, because you got Aramaic. Aramaic is a sister language.
Right, but back in
The
those
book
days,
of Daniel. The book of Daniel is Aramaic.
Right, but they studied the Torah in Hebrew, and they didn't translate it, even if
Yeah.
it was Aramaic.
Well, of course, it's still Hebrew writings for sure. You know what I mean? But at the time of the first century, they had it translated because obviously, so the oppressor could understand it. You know what I mean? And of course, at that time, like I said, the Jews were speaking Greek because they were conquered by Alexander and his Greek generals as well, which was Ptolemy. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm referencing. When you get to the Greek language, it doesn't reflect the proper Hebrew thought of the Old Testament, quote unquote, as far as the language, if you want to go to the translation aspect.
It's probably true for any language you translate into. It's going to.
What's that?
I said any language you translate into is going to be problematic.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
think that's true probably any.
And that's what I was referencing earlier about if somebody wants to study the Greek, obviously it's not a problem.
I was
but,
talking about an example of.
Yeah. I'm just saying in reference to just the whole Greek
But the
writings.
The interesting thing is that you can see from like discussions that people have at the time and the writings that they do, you can tell which version they read, whether they read the Greek or whether they read.
Who? What do you mean? Just in general?
Yeah, people at the time, if they're quoting the Torah, there's certain mistakes in the Greek translations, like literal mistakes.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And they'll quote those and be like, okay, well, we know he studied.
Yeah, the Septuagint. Yeah,
James.
yeah. James,
Yeah, there you go.
Paul has a lot of errors in his thought process, and like I said, obviously, all we can go off of is that because we understand that part of the Gospels were written in Hebrew for sure. Do we have the text? No.
I didn't know that. I was not of the impression they were written in Matthew.
Well, Matthew for sure was written in Hebrew, for certain.
I mean, it wouldn't be shocking based on who.
Yeah, because when you
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, when you read the certain texts, like obviously you read the English, and when you go to the concordances or the lexicons, when you study the quote unquote Greek definition, it'll say of a Hebrew origin. Why would it say that in a Greek text? Because it was written in Hebrew first. You know what I mean?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not shocked.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that to say like that's why Greek is so problematic. But like I said, that's all we have as of now. And obviously, the full compilation of the Old Testament right now is compiled in Greek, the Septuagint, like I said, the 3rd century BC. All other Old Testament, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, is fragmented, you know what I mean? All the other translations, or excuse me, the manuscripts, aren't fully in context outside of Isaiah and certain other manuscripts, you know what I mean?
I would say like the closest one that's even closest to a Shemitic language was the Peshitta.
Peshitta, yeah.
The Peshitta came what?
4th, 5th
5,000?
century, yeah. 4th or 5th century.
You know what I mean? And like I'm saying, that's Aramaic. But like I'm saying all this to say this, that the Septuagint was pretty much all that they had, you know what I'm saying, for a long time.
I got to split. Good talking to you.
All right, man. Cheers.
All right, appreciate the dialogue. More of the story is never trust Europeans when they talk about the Bible. That's pretty much how it works. Whatever they say, hey, I mean, sure, we could agree with certain things, but what he was talking about earlier about Bart Ehrman, which is an atheist, like I said, Bart Ehrman, he was a Christian theologian or whatever you want to call it. He did so much study and he bugged himself out, like I said, and became an atheist. Because he's thinking the Word of God or the King James translation is infallible, and of course it's not. That's what bugged him out. And now he has all these certain questions and things like that for Christians, which are good questions. But if you're not strong in the faith, you're going to go down that same path. You know what I mean?
Oh, this fucking dude.
Yeah, Bart Ehrman.
Oh, shit.
He debated James White, cut him up. You know what I mean? Yeah, you've probably seen him before, but I'm just saying that to say people that don't have a strong faith and are in Christianity, and that's happening right now, actually, are falling by the wayside from the Christian church. Whether it's through personal issues, theological issues, certain questions that can't be answered, things that are happening that can't recognize, like, wait a minute, the guy is so good, what's going on with me? Or why do people treat me like this? Or like, here's another thing that I don't get. Christians will be like, God is love, and obviously they're going to love everybody to death and love bomb people. That's what they do, they're love bombing, which is a form of narcissism, by the way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Give me Luke. I think it's Luke 6. And let me read this real quick. 23. Start at, let me see. Start at 26.
Luke 6:26. Woe unto you, when all men shall speak well of you.
Yeah, woe unto you. Who speaks well of Christians? Everybody. They love everybody. They just love you and, care so much. But guess what? Christ says, destruction unto you. Isn't that a conundrum they're in? Just from what I think and how I view and how they actually operate. They love so much. They don't hate anybody. God loves everybody, so I got to do the same thing. No, that's not how it works. Give me Ecclesiastes 3. Go ahead.
For so did their fathers to the false prophets.
Same thing happened in the Christian church. They're going to be destroyed just the same. They believe lies. They want smooth words, like it says in Isaiah. And guess what? They think loving everybody is going to get them to the kingdom. In comparison, they being sinners as well. It doesn't make any sense. You're doing all that love bombing, all that quote unquote good works in your eyes, and you're still in sin. How does that correlate to salvation? I just believe I'm saved already. No. They're going to get a rude awakening when this place starts going to hell. Go ahead.
You just want the main one?
Where you at? Oh, 3 and yeah. Go ahead.
This is Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. A time to love and a time to hate.
That's right out of the Bible. But that's the Old Testament, brother. Don't ever read that. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
A time of war and a time of peace.
That's what's going to happen soon. War in America. Civil war, race wars, then World War III. You know what I mean? That's what's gearing up every day. People are walking around, going to school, going to Berkeley, eating their food, you know what I mean? Watching their shows, going to sports events, being entertained by music, watching movies. But on that day, they going to wish that they listened to the prophets, if you're an Israelite, you know what I mean? They going to wish that they took heed and hearkened to the word, like that Puerto Rican dude earlier. You know what I mean? More abominations. You know what I mean? That's top 3 of the list in America. The LGBTQ stuff. You know what I mean? Outside of the lies. Outside of them poisoning us for us to be in sin with the Most High. Where you at?
Amos 8.
Go ahead.
This is Amos 8:11. Behold, the days come, said the Lord God, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. There's going to become a time and place. I just actually seen a little comment right before I started speaking to the Edomite dude that Donald Trump is putting together some type of anti-Christian police force. Who is he targeting? Who's anti-Christian in America? I don't really see too many anti-Christians outside the Israelites, or maybe Muslims. Why is it? That's weird. Yeah, it was doing some type of audio reading. But anyways, I'm saying that to say they're gearing up to take down the Israelites, whether they believe in the Bible or not, first and foremost. But the people that are speaking against the false doctrine and the propaganda, they're planning to take us down because we're dispelling all the lies. So what's going on, brother? And everybody needs to look up Project Megiddo